What's going on, everyone? So, Sidney Prescott is back for the upcoming Scream 7 and will be the main focal point. This is a film that is supposed to center around her. Now, rumor has it, again, it's all rumors until we actually get real confirmation, but rumor has it that this film will be kind of like a split type film where like half of it will focus on Sidney Prescott, the other half will focus on new characters, that new characters will be introduced and then they will grow and develop them. I don't think necessarily it'll be like split down the middle, like half the movie is that. I just mean like as far as runtime goes, like half of this film should be kind of Sydney focused and centric. The other half should be kind of focused on the new characters and how they intertwine and mingle. We'll see how that all plays out. Now, I'm somebody that has been of the mindset that I think Scream should move in a direction away from Sidney Prescott. I love Sidney. Grew up with Sidney, right? Neve Campbell. Grew up with Neve. Love Neve. But at some point, if you're going to continue this franchise into the foreseeable future, you're going to have to move off some of these characters and really start building and establishing new characters that we can fall in love with and, kind of head in a new era with. That was kind of the plan before this most recent installment with, Sam, Tara. What happened, and now they're kind of scrambling. So, look, I am fully okay in embracing Sidney Prescott returning for this upcoming Scream because I get it. I understand because of the circumstances, you're kind of in a rock and a hard place, and your best course of action was to bring Neve back, was to bring back Sidney Prescott and kind of make this a Sidney-esque film. It's the safer bet. It's just the best case scenario given again the circumstances. But what do you do going forward? Now, there is again rumors that if this film has the success that they believe and hope it does, that they actually want to continue to make more films with Sidney Prescott, with Neve Campbell, have a return and kind of continue to be the focus, right? It's very possible that they could, depending on how this film goes and how they set up and establish, they could set up and establish a new trilogy centered around Sidney Prescott, her family, kind of, have this be the new transition, maybe even transition into her kids. Say we get, say her oldest is whatever, is like 12 by the time we go see this film. Right? There's a lot of talks, there's a lot of rumors on how many kids she has and, the age of the kids and all that stuff. But here's the thing. We do not know for certain. We do not, right? We know that she has multiple children because of what she said and how she phrased it in Scream 5, but we don't know, we don't know if her kids, she said getting her kids ready for school. That could be high school, that could be middle school, that could be, college. I mean, it could be a million things, right? So we don't know exactly how old their kids are. They could kind of just piggyback this however way they want and kind of continue with Sydney and then maybe her children later on down the road. That's something that could happen. But I also think you need to, with these new characters, really establish and make sure you hit on these new characters, right? Because unless your plan really is, okay, here's Sidney Prescott, here's the first of 3 films with Sidney, all the other characters are irrelevant because we're just going to keep flushing new characters around Sidney, film after film after film, then if that's the case, then fine. I still want good characters. I still want good character development and storytelling in this upcoming Scream film. But then, you don't have this sense of like you have to hit. Like Scream 5, they had to hit on Sam and Tara. People felt that they hit on Tara. Many people wanted to get rid of Sam. And then Scream 6, they did a better job of telling the Sam story. And then people kind of came around. And then, unfortunately, they're no longer a part of the franchise. So now it's like, okay, you got to kind of get back to the drawing boards, building new characters. Hopefully you learn some lessons along the way and you learned how to better develop and tell the story of these characters, right? Because that was the problem in Scream 5. It's like you got through the end of the film and it was like, who are these people? Right? Like you get the, Chad's the jock and, Mindy's the movie nerd and, you got Wes the shy OCD guy, and you got Liv, who's like, the promiscuous whatever girl. Like, it's just but we didn't know who they were. We didn't establish, like, think of the classic Scream. Go back to the classic. Like, you knew who each character was. You felt like you knew those characters. You felt attached to those characters. So much so, many people in the Screamverse want some of these characters back. Right? But like, we were devastated when some of these characters. I mean, people still are bothered and think Tatum should have survived. Randy should have never died. Think of all the people that want Stu back, right? It's just like, because they developed and they told the story of these characters so seamlessly and so perfectly, right? At some point, you're going to have to establish a new wave of these characters. Why is Sidney and Gail and, well, Dewey to an extent, why were they so beloved? Why were they looked at as so untouchable for so long until Scream 5 came in and kind of broke that? And people were upset about it. Why? Because you had great characters that you established and developed in the classic Scream, but we also had a history and years of and multiple films of development to learn and grow. Like, even like I said with Sam and Tara, right? Like, people really were drawn to Tara immediately. A lot of that was Jenna Ortega, and then also I think a lot of her just hype and her just kind of taking off. So you had like this kind of perfect storm, but Sam, a lot of people were really down on and disappointed on and didn't really like her, and the consensus was kind of like, she's not the person to carry on with. And then we got Scream 6, and they did a much better job writing her character, telling her story, and people really came around to her, right? But again, you got another film, you got to see a different side of her, you got to see a different growth in her. They took a unique kind of route with her in Scream 5, and then it just didn't land, but they were able to pivot and adjust to just give you a better version in Scream 6. And again, hopefully they've learned kind of their lesson in these last two films and can give us some quality characters. Because, I mean, again, you go back to the original, and it's just such great characters and story. And, again, you knew who each were. You knew who Randy was beyond just the book nerd or the movie nerd, right? Like, you got that, okay, he is, he has this obsession with Sidney. He has this love. He is a little goofy. He is a little awkward, right? Like, he's part of the friends group, but at times kind of just seems like the outcast, right? You got Tatum, who's, like she says, the big boobs with the, blonde hair, and sorry, trying to phrase this properly for YouTube, right? Point is, you got to see and get and understand who each of the characters were. Billy and Randy and Stu and Tatum and Sidney, and it's just like you got to know, and you got the proper development and storytelling. We need to hit on that in these upcoming Scream films if you plan to continue to carry on. Otherwise, again, if you're just going back to Sidney and it's just, we're going to do the next 3 films about Sidney, okay, fine, they don't need to hit that as much. But I still think you need a character or two that has some like, can you each film have an entirely new cast centered around Neve and Sidney? Can you? Yes. Should you? Probably not. Right? You should have some more characters beyond that. Right? And it's like, that's kind of been the goal since Scream 4. Right? Was that like, okay, you have Kirby, you have Jill, you have all these characters that, they had original plans for Scream 5, but then, fortunately with Wes's passing and all that, like, it never came to fruition. But then you end up getting Scream 5, and it's like, okay, well, here's your new group of characters, right? These are the characters that we need to hit on, the core 4, whatnot. And then, that they were supposed to be the ones that kind of take on the mantle and continue. And Scream 6, I thought, was fine without Sidney. I mean, I had my gripes and my issues with Scream 6, but it wasn't because Sidney wasn't in it, right? So, can they go back to the drawing board and develop new characters, or is this just going to be, here's 3 more films of Sidney, which, like, again, I don't hate, as long as it's not the same old, as long as it's not just like the brothers, cousins, nephews, uncles, sister wants her dead, as long as there's like some real storytelling and some real development and some real, it's handled in a proper manner, then I'm all for it. right? And because again, delivery, story, and execution is everything. If you can do those things well, then fine, I'm okay with it. But regardless, at some point, you're going to have to move off of Sidney if you're going to continue to do films, right? Like, at some point, you're going to have to get some new cast established. And I think even if you are going to say you are going to make this next trilogy be Sidney focused, I still think you need to establish at least one or two characters, maybe even three, beyond Sidney that you can have kind of intertwined in this new Sidney trilogy or whatever. Again, I don't know if there's gonna be a Sidney trilogy. I just speaking generally because they're gonna do more movies. They're not gonna stop, right? Like I mean, Spyglass and Paramount, all that, like they got so much money that they need to make after buying the rights and everything. So they still got a long way to go. We still probably got another 5 movies before they even think about slowing down. So, but anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you think like, yeah, you got to get some other characters established? Do you think no, like just keep it Sidney focused and then worry about that, later on down the road? Do a new Sidney trilogy and then after the trilogy, then worry about the new characters. How do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. Helps me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel. What are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.